Okay, good morning to you.
Good morning again.
We are going to share the screen. Let me just find the screen. What I've been doing as part of my research is to determine the effects of your home language on learning English. And it is quite interesting to discover, and it actually opens doors for the teacher as to how they should work about training and teaching students new vocabulary. Tell me if you think this is true. They say in Polish, you stress predominantly the second last syllable of every word.
Yes, I think so. It's the second syllable which we stress mostly. But I think it depends because this rule this rule is only for the Polish words. But
Yes.
if the words comes from other language, like there is some maybe English word in the Polish language also, so this rule doesn't exist, I think.
Okay. And then the second thing that I read was that you don't use articles. So you don't use a, an, and that.
Exactly. We don't use articles. So it's also a problem for us, for Polish people. Of course, in the beginning, but if we are using language, also we are very often forgetting about the participles.
Yeah. But it is interesting for me, and we have to agree that English is somewhat of a weird language, in that there are rules, but then there are exceptions to the rule. And so for anyone learning a language, I think it's quite a problem. So this lesson is called A Weird Language, because English, I think, has adopted words from French and other languages and incorporated them into English, which makes it more difficult. So section number 1, let me make this a little bit bigger.
Think about your personal experience of learning English. Put the 4 areas below in order from most difficult to least difficult. Explain why. So most difficult, I think pronunciation. Yeah. So very often I have to think how to pronounce different words, and many times I need to stop and think what's the correct pronunciation. So I think pronunciation is most difficult.
Okay.
Spelling. No, I don't think. In the most of the cases, okay, sometimes you get some double consonant or something like that, but I think I have control over that. So the second place, most difficult, it will be between maybe grammar and vocabulary. And
would you agree that vocabulary comes, I think, predominantly from reading something that's got a new word in, and then saying, well, I still do that today. If I read something that's got a word in it, oh, that's interesting, I don't know that word, I try and look it up. It doesn't mean you'll always remember it, because the stats show you need to have seen a word 17 times before it stays in your brain. So, yes.
Yes. Sometimes I need to say something annoying. Yeah, you see the word and you remember to check the word many times, and you didn't get it. Yeah. Oh, and you check it and you check it again. So it sometimes can be annoying. Yeah. So that's why. Yes. That's probably true what you say. What scientists has described that you have to check or read the word 70 times to that the word would stuck in your brain.
Yes. Okay, so let's move on. These are keywords that we are going to read in the article below. And before we do that, we are going to identify, match the words with their definitions. So this is not so much about pronunciation as meaning of the word.
Exactly. Okay. Okay, let's start from the end. So I think weird is strange and unusual, hard to explain or unnatural. You know,
Weird, strange and unusual.
Yes. Yeah, linguist is the scientist group of language.
Yes. This apparently, I was reading, comes from lingua in Latin, which means tongue.
Exactly, yeah. So probably the word language comes from lingua. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's skip over phoneme. Indigenous. Okay, I know it's indigenous, so let's find it. Yeah, D, relating the First Nations of people who originally lived in the area.
Yes. I was going to talk about plants because I've decided in my new house to grow only indigenous plants because they are much more sustainable because that's their natural habitat.
Yes, exactly. It's smart. Fiendishly. Fiendishly. I choose a little basic just to prove point. I'm not sure, but fiendishly I think it can be C, extremely.
Correct.
It is. Yeah.
Yes, but it's used in a negative sense. So if you think of someone in the mafia gets a tip off that the police are going to arrive and he starts fiendishly tearing up papers and throwing them into the fire. So it's sort of in a quick mad way, but it's in a negative sense. It's not a positive attribute.
Okay, also acquire. Acquire is to get or add to a collection or object of abilities for abilities.
Yes.
G.
You can acquire a new sports car.
Okay, so we have, okay, so for name, it will be a unit of sound using language, vowel or consonant, yeah?
Yes, I say to my Chinese students, think of the word phone. Phone is to do with sound. Phoneme is a unit of sound, such as a vowel or a consonant. And apparently, was it in Polish that there are more than there were in? I found this quite strange. Polish has a total of 8 vowels, but it goes on in the article to say compared to the 22 vowel sounds in English. I didn't try and identify 22 vowel sounds. There are 5 vowels, so I'm not sure what the 22 vowel sounds are, but it says Polish has 8. So there's quite a lot more to learn. And then the last word, to cherry pick.
Cherry pick, to choose on the best examples to put upon.
Yes.
Okay.
In the factory where I worked, we had a cherry picker, which was a like machine that moved around. You could stand on it and it would elevate you up to the third row of pallets in the warehouse so that you could get something off the top shelf. It was called a cherry picker. But to cherry pick is to select the best.
Select the best, okay.
Okay, so moving on. Before you read, you are going to read an article describing two features of the English language that are very different from other languages. Which two features from the list below do you predict will be described? I think that's almost impossible.
I think it has to be something with phonemes, because maybe you are writing and reading words maybe a different way. And the other one, I think it can be spelling.
I'm thinking it might be tenses.
Okay.
There was something, I think, you do not have the perfect continuous tense or something.
So, no, in Polish you don't have the
yes. So it might be that. I'm just guessing. So linguists have found the weirdest languages, and English is one of them. So let's look at the article. I need to make it a bit bigger.
Yes, it could be funny. Yes, okay. I can read it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. One. Is English weird? Many of us may feel this is true when we are trying to explain the complex spelling rules of the language or the meanings of idioms, such as it's raining cats and dogs. But what is a weird language anyway? Computational linguists have used data in the World Atlas of Language Structures to explore which languages may be considered the weirdest, systematically comparing information for 239 languages from different parts of the world. The aim was to find out which languages had the largest number of features that differ most from other languages. In this survey, English came in 33rd position out of 239 languages. So it was definitely weirder than over 80% of the other languages in the survey. Critics have claimed the survey indulged in cherry-picking only a few features of the world's many languages. Indeed, there are features of English that are not weird compared to many other languages, such as its basic subject-verb-object-word order. But let's look here at two features of English that may be unusual. English probably sounds a little weird to many speakers of other languages. According to Walls, the average number of distinctive speech sounds in the world language is about 25 to 30, known as phonemes. Piraha, an indigenous language spoken in the Amazon region of Brazil, has an unusually small set of phonemes. It has 8 consonants and just 3 vowels, I, A, and O. In contrast, Tao is a language in southern Africa which has more than 100 phonemes, including many different types of Clipchamp.
I have never heard of Tao. I have heard of Xhosa, and they.
Oh.
Yeah, they will say bye bye. So they click.
Yeah, interesting. English has more phonemes than many languages, with around 44, depending on which variety of English you speak. unusual large set of vowel sounds. There are around 11. According to Wolves, most spoken languages only have between 5 to 6 vowel sounds. This is part of the reason that English spelling is complicated.
In a bad way. Complicated.
Because it has inherited 5 letters or vowels from the Roman alphabet, and speakers have to make them work for more than twice the number of sounds. English has some compared to the unusual consonant sounds as well. 2 sounds. Those represented by the Beth and Buffy, respectively, are found.
Bathe.
Bathe.
Yeah,
Okay.
bath is the thing that you sit in, but to bathe is to like swim.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Respectively, are found in fewer than 10% of the languages surveyed in words. In fact, these 2 sounds are generally among the last sounds acquired by children with some adult varieties of English not using them at all. English grammar is also weird. English uses varying word orders to distinguish between questions and statements, meaning that the subject of the sentence precedes the verb in the statement. Take the phrase, life is a box of chocolates, for example. Here the order is subject life, followed by the verb is. The question is life a box of chocolates. The order of these elements is reversed. In a world survey of 955 languages, fewer than 2% use English-like differences in sentence structure for questions. Over 50% of the languages added the question particle to differentiate a question from a statement. Oh, it's interesting. In Japanese, for example, you add the question particle ka to a statement to turn it into a question. The second most common strategy reward was to change the intonation pattern, such as changing a found intonation pattern for a statement to a rising one for a question.
That we do.
That said, it's impossible to conclusively make the argument that English is or isn't weird because all the data needed to make the judgment is not available. As several thousand languages have not yet been included in words, this means words can only be used to compare English with a small portion of the estimated 7,000 languages in the world today. So, more language documentation is ultimately needed to give a better understanding of the world's amazing linguistic diversity.
Good. And the article numbers is where ideally we should view them side by side. I don't have that tool at the moment. So, these are the numbers that are important in the article. Scan the article to find them and read carefully what each number means, making a note of the significance using your own words.
Okay. So, 33rd, it was the place of English language in the world scale. Yeah.
Yeah, the 33rd was the weirdest.
Weirdest, yeah. In the scale of the weirdest language, yeah. 7,000 with 7,000 languages, which were compared.
What I think I will do is I'll print this page and then we will go back to the article and I will then just prompt you with the numbers because it's a bit difficult to not have them side by side. So 7,000 is apparently the number of languages available in the world today. I think the 80% was at 33rd position. We were 80% weirder than other languages. I think that's where that one took off. Okay, so let's go back to the article. So we have, let's just look at the numbers from the top. There are 230 languages, which is what they compared from different parts of the world. 239.
Yeah.
As you
okay,
see.
so 7,000 is like counting all the languages for today. Yeah, how many languages today in the world? Yeah.
So they only 239, a very small percentage of the 7,000. So you cannot really draw a conclusion from that. But of the 239, we came 33rd, which made us 80% weirder than anybody else. So we discussed that.
25, 30 phonemes. Okay. So the average number of distinctive speech sounds in the words in languages. Okay. So it's like average, average number of phonemes, 25 to 30.
Yes. So speech sounds, they would say like the that or the ch. Those type of things, phonemes. Then we are looking, there's more than 100 in Japan. 44 is the number of phonemes in English.
English language, yes.
And I think for this, you need to have the phonetic alphabet, and that it combines A and E together and to give you different sounds. And it says we have 11 vowel sounds in English. So that was the 11 vowel sounds.
Okay.
Here's the 2%. Now they're up to 955 languages. Fewer than 2% used English-like differences in sentence structure.
Okay.
Between for questions. So when we reverse the auxiliary verb and the subject. But we also do use intonation. I will say to you, are you feeling better? And it goes up, as opposed to a statement where the intonation goes down. And that's what I had to laugh at also in this article I was reading. It says that the Polish people are not used to the intonation that English people use in their languages. I must read this to you. In Polish, it is common to stress the second last syllable. However, in English, there are numerous stress patterns.
I can't agree with that. I think we use also intonation, but maybe it's not
as pronounced. Maybe
no. I think it's not used in daily life so often. It's more like if you can feel it in the theater. You can hear it sometimes if you are going to how to explain it. Yeah, we are using it very seldom, I would say, and we use it sometimes if you want to make the conversation a little bit more interesting, let's say.
That's why we use it as well. But they say here, many Polish speakers claim that English intonation sounds exaggerated. So they fail to imitate it for fear of sounding silly. As you said, it's more often used in theatres when you
Mhm.
want to create the effect. So you
Mhm.
stress different things.
Mhm.
So that was the, okay, over 50% of languages add a question particle to differentiate a question. And an example there is the Japanese, whereas in English we just invert the subject and the auxiliary verb. Right, so let's move on. Read these sentences from the article. They make sense as they stand, but a word could also be added to communicate more information. What sort of word could be used to fill the gaps? So is it a object? Is it a noun? Is it a verb?
Which sense does this tend of the because okay, linguist aim to okay, linguists aim to be objectives.
So to make it
I,
easier,
I would say linguists often aim to be objective.
I would also say that. But I'm going to give you there's a list of words here. So it's just that I'm going to move that there, because it's a bit too vague as it stands. I would also say linguists often aim or generally aim, or we're looking for an adverb to fit to aim.
So linguists maybe definitely aim to be objective.
Yes, or generally aim to be objective could also apply.
Okay, then the linguists.
So maybe let's stick to generally, because they potentially don't always. So I can put that in there.
Yeah. Aim to be objective. Okay. Linguists were
These are almost all adverbs.
can we say that they were systematically?
Yes. I don't know that I would have got that one, but they were systematically comparing 239 languages.
Sorry.
Put like that.
English is written in most other languages story. English is comparatively weirder than most of other languages survey.
Thank you. They say definitely weirder, but comparatively weirder is also because we're comparing it then to most other languages in the survey.
Yes, this was my fault. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, English sounds a little weird to most because of the other languages. Probably. Or English.
Yes.
Yeah,
English probably sounds weird. When you go to England itself, the different dialects sound weird to everybody. You cannot believe that they're actually speaking English.
Yeah. Yeah. Many people say it's also that in Northern England they're speaking really weird. They have a special dialect.
Yes.
especially in the northern part of England,
Okay.
like from Liverpool up to Newcastle.
My husband comes from North Yorkshire.
North Yorkshire.
Yes,
Okay.
and they speak like this. Hello, look. Would you like a cup of tea and a bun?
Okay. Weird. Definitely weird for me. Yeah. One Indian language has a small set of phonics, while English has okay. Maybe one Indian language has an unusually small set of phonics.
Okay. Yes. While English has and this is the unusually because of the and. But we could say one indigenous language has an unusually small set of phonemes, while English has an unusually large set of phonemes, of vowel sounds. So we'll use the same word twice.
Twice, okay. Unusual twice, okay. English spelling is. It could be comparatively. It could be also. You would say fiendishly.
That's what they said in the article. It's bad. And I'm thinking specifically, I was thinking the other day of bow and bow.
Yeah.
They sound the same, but the one is the bow of a tree. The bow of a tree, I'm sorry. And to bow. To bow, the Japanese bow, when they greet each other, they bend forward, they bow. But in English, you also get the bow of a tree, the body of the tree.
Okay.
It's called the bow of the tree.
Like stem.
Yes.
Stem of the tree.
Yes. So it's B-O-W and B-O-U-G-H. So it's fiendishly complicated spelling.
It is fiendishly complicated. Okay. English has some. I'm not sure. Conclusively?
English spelling is comparatively complicated. Comparing it to other languages, it is comparatively complicated. No, sorry, that was fiendishly. English has some comparatively unusual consonants.
Consonants, okay.
Then bath and bathe.
Bath and bathe, yeah. The sounds in bath and bathe are respectively are found fewer than 10% of the world languages.
Good, yes.
Yeah. Okay, it's impossible to argue that English is superior because some data is not available. Okay, it's impossible to conclusively.
Yes, so you cannot reach a decision conclusively argue that it's weird because some of the data is not available.
Conclusively.
If we could argue conclusively, we could reach a definite decision that it was weird. However, the jury is still out on whether English is weird or not.
More language documentation is needed to better understand the words in languages. Ultimately, yeah, for language conditions, ultimately you need to better understand the words in any languages.
Yes, and what I find is interesting too is that languages are changing all the time. Remember the other day when I used the word Jersey and we saw that it came from the 15th century. So languages are changing and updating themselves. They are not static. New words are added all the time. Social distancing during COVID was a new word that we added.
But today, we are using, I think we are using Jersey to name the, if it's, for example, football t-shirts. And nobody call it t-shirt, I think. They call it jersey also, like, so, like, or if you have also
jersey,
yeah, so it's
yeah.
also jersey, yeah.
So I'm not so out of date.
So it's okay.
Okay, so talking. How many vowel letters? Now there's a difference between vowel sounds and vowel letters. So how many vowel letters are in your first language, Polish?
Let me think. I need to count them. Okay. A, E, O, U, O, L. I think it's 7 letters.
Okay, I had 8, but I don't know which one's missing.
E, yeah, 8, yeah, 8, yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
And this one is the difficult. How many vowel sounds does your first language have? And how does this compare with English? It is very difficult to know, or I have a copy of the phonetic alphabet, but I don't know how many. They said here we have 22 vowel sounds in English.
I think that we don't have many vowels sounds more than vowels letters, but we have more consonant sounds.
Okay.
Because very often we have like double consonants sounds, and it makes much more sound than letter consonants letters. Yeah.
Let's just glance briefly if I can find it. I did have the phonetic alphabet. Because it makes quite a difference when you look at the phonetic alphabet as to your normal. I probably won't find it just by looking. I've never taught the phonetic alphabet because it's a whole different thing on its own to actually learn the way we do at the moment. So I can't see it now. But it goes on. Let me do this. Let's look here. Oops. It's difficult for me to move back to Google. I will just go here and type phonetic alphabet because it's quite interesting. Some of them you've never thought about. Chart. Birds on it. Wanted images. So this is what it looks like. Because they join them together. So we've got E in C. So those two E's together are pronounced E. C.
Mhm.
And then we've got in sit. So you just
Mhm.
put that next to it, changes the sound. Two O's together, whoop, whoop.
Mhm.
Two O's together, two, ooh. So ooh and ooh are the same spelling but a different sound.
Mhm.
Where's another one here? Men and
Mhm.
men.
Eh,
That one is
mhm. Mega.
Hat. That one is also
Hat.
This is
Eh.
and this is a.
Yeah, these sounds we have in Norwegian,
Okay.
which we don't have in Polish. Yeah.
Okay. R. Heart. R.
Hard.
So that's a and that's R.
Mhm.
So we've got yes, these sounds. Church. This
Church.
PH, church. And judge is the
Judge.
DGE. So this is the phonetic alphabet. And there are words that sound the same but are spelled differently. So that's why they sometimes stress learning the phonetic alphabet. Do you have the TH phonemes mentioned in your language? And you said that was a difficulty, the bar.
I don't think we have PH in our language. Like.
So I generally say baths, push the air out and push your tongue between your teeth. And I find with my Chinese students, though, they say shell.
Okay.
But you have to be pushing the air out between your tongue and your teeth, though. And then through is THR. You keep your tongue behind your bottom teeth and go through, and it doesn't come out. Yes. So the article mentions 3 strategies for making questions. Word order changes, addition of a question or particle, and intonation changes. How do you make questions in your home language?
So mainly we are adding the question word or particle, say. Like what, where, when, yeah, basically. You can use also intonation, what we were talking about, but it's not so popular in daily life. And inversion, do we use inversion? No, we don't use inversion. We need to have the additional word, yeah, helping word, yeah.
So we also have that what, where, when for questions, but we do use the inversion and the intonation. Are you coming on Sunday? And it goes up, which intimates that it's a question. So you can now speak about Norwegian because you are fluent in Norwegian as well. So do you speak any other languages that use any of these strategies?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I'm speaking Norwegian also. Let me think. Actually, in Norwegian there is an inversion. I think Norwegian grammar is a little bit similar to English. So we have inversion in Norwegian actually, yeah. And intonation, I think there is also intonation. Yeah, yeah.
And did you struggle to learn Norwegian when, obviously, with moving to Norway? I think you pick it up quicker than if you're learning it when you're still based in Poland. Did you struggle with the language?
I struggle with the language all the time. So I can't say that I'm fluent in Norwegian. I'm communicating and I'm living in society and it's okay. But um, it gives me every day a little bit challenge, let's say.
Okay, that's interesting because they always say you learn a language easier when you immerse yourself in the culture of that country and you're involved.
Of course, definitely, I need to agree with that. There's no question of that. It's much easier to learn a language when you are in the place when the language is used. It's of course, but if somebody is asking me, yeah, do you speak fluently Norwegian? No, I can't say that.
But you can understand it probably.
I understand it, and I'm using the Norwegian my way, let's say. Um, yeah, but I'm far away to say I'm fluent Norwegian.
I'm exactly the same. I speak Afrikaans, but I would not say I'm fluent in Afrikaans. I am more able to understand it than to speak it. So, and also you find when you are speaking with people continually, you build up more knowledge of the language. You become more confident, I think, in what you say.
Yeah, yes, that's also other thing. Yeah, how confident you feel with the language. Yeah, um, it also depends in what kind of environment. It's no problem to talk with the patient, with the friends. But of course, it could be very challenging for me to speak to the audience in Norwegian, for example. Yeah. Because I know
Now,
that
when you go to lectures at the university, are they in Norwegian?
yes.
So you can understand the academic language.
Yes, of course. More, yeah, it's mostly understandable, I would say. Of course, you can find some words, and sometimes it makes you a little bit wonder, yeah. But it's not a problem anyway. You get these words, and you'll be better next time, yeah.
And I think often you can determine the meaning of a word from the words around it. So if there's a particular word, yeah, you can sort it. So final question here. How easy or difficult would it be for an English speaker to learn Polish? Put these areas in order of difficulty.
I think it could be spelling, I'm sorry, pronunciation again. Could be maybe more difficult because we have sounds which maybe are not, yeah. I think there is some sounds that we don't have in English and we have in Polish. Yeah, for example, yeah, or there is a sound we don't have in English, I think. Okay, we have okay, we have sound in English. We have but don't or she. I don't think so. Yeah. Also sounds like okay, it's not difficult, but all L. It's also different sounds.
And does the pronunciation determine the meaning of the word?
Yes, if you don't pronounce it correctly, the word
It
just
means
miss
something
the
else.
sense.
Oh, I'm thinking
Miss the sense.
I'm thinking of things like sheep and ship.
Maybe not like that, but the word doesn't make sense. So yeah.
Now, nobody would understand then what you were saying.
Yeah. So if you pronounce not correctly, so somebody needs to, oh, what you say? What you say? What you say? Maybe you mean this. Sheep. Okay.
Yes. So and we run out of time, I think. But I had a little game that was just on pronunciation and what words you might battle with. I did it to. I wasn't going to. I gave it to my other Polish student, and she managed to do it, but I'm not sure now where I would find it. But I think because of your level of English and having studied for the IELTS exam, that you would probably find it much easier than what she did. There it is. We can look at it for a minute. These are the 10 words. Which would you think is the correct pronunciation? Mischievous or mischievous?
Definitely pronunciation A. Mischievous. It's correct. I would say mischievous. I would say mischievous.
Yes, but I think what they're looking at is the stress. Mischievous.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Wait a second. Oh, about the stress. Okay.
Yes.
Mischievous. Yeah. Okay. So now maybe pronunciation B.
B.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Mischievous. Yeah. Jewelry. Jewelry. In the jewelry, I would say also B.
Yes.
Jewelry. And February. Pronunciation A.
Yeah.
Pronunciation B, not A.
It's not library.
Not library.
Library.
Salmon. Salmon pronunciation A. Salmon.
It is actually B. We don't pronounce the L. It's salmon.
Oh,
Yeah.
salmon.
And
Okay.
interesting that one tripped her up as well. It's we don't say salmon. It's salmon.
I would say B.
Say this word.
Subtle.
Subtle. Subtle.
Yeah. Subtle.
Yeah, you cannot hear the B. It's subtle.
Subtle. Yeah.
We don't say subtle. We say subtle.
So why there is the H there in the pronunciation?
Because when we pronounce it, we go sa. So to make a word sa, they put the H. Sa.
Okay. So
Subtle.
subtle. Okay. Subtle. Okay. Okay. I think I have pronounced it correct.
You say it correctly. You do.
Yeah.
That's why I said you do say subtle.
Exactly, but I couldn't understand why it's H there. Okay.
But you can hear when I say sa. It's got a H.
I think it's B.
B is correct. There's the H again. Us.
Once it's pronunciation A.
Yes. Sorry, just
Berry.
ignore that.
Uh,
Ignore these last two.
berry. Yeah, but I want to say berry anyway. Stomach, 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 stomach. Okay, so, yeah, stomach.
Stomach.
So it's ick, stomach. No,
Yes.
it's not that stomach, I mean stomach.
It's not stomach, it's stomach. Even
Yeah.
though you see that's confusing because this is CH,
Yeah,
but it's stomach,
stomach.
so
Yeah.
it's not pronounced. And this one is B. It highlighted it by mistake. It is B, berry, berry, as opposed to berry, this one that you eat. Bury is when you dig a hole in the ground and put a coffin into the ground and you bury someone.
Yes.
So it's pronounced bury. Bury.
So B is correct. Not
B
E.
is correct, yes.
Bury. No, not bury.
It's not bury, it's bury. Even though it's BU, it's bury. As berry and berry. Be,
Bury.
berry,
Bury.
berry.
Bury.
Very slight different sound between these two.
So it's bury and bury.
Yes.
Bury, bury.
Very.
Bury. Okay.
We've run out of time, but I hope you enjoyed that lesson.
Yeah, it was very enjoyable. Yeah.
Good. And I will see you next time. I'm trying to get back to Fred.